Hello everyone, I'm going to show you what I'm doing at the office today. One of my favorite springtime events is doing the garden beds. This is what it looks like before I start. I've been working on this one today. It's one of my favorite things to do. I love the whole process of composting. Now, what I do, and there might be some further down in this soil, this is all the compost from several years of collecting. As you can tell, it's just rich, full of nutrients, everything. All of our food waste goes into compost. Everything but meat. Do not put meat in your compost. That's a bad thing. It causes flies, bugs, rodents, a lot of critters that you don't want in your compost. This here is from this year. I started last spring is when this started here. I took all the waste from that bed on the top, and that's what's on the top here. Other than that, down underneath here is all of our current food waste down in the bottom. You want to always make sure that if you're doing composting, you dig a deep hole and always put your fresh food waste in that hole and cover it up completely. And as you can tell, there's no flies, there's no bugs, there's no smell, nothing. I'll take my screen here and I'll show you what I do real quick, just to give you an idea. I don't have my tripod, so maybe it'll have a wide enough angle that you can see. I don't know. We'll try this out. So I built me a little screen here, and I'm not going too far down. I have old rotted logs in the bottom, and so I'll get my scoops, sift it out, and then from there I'll take the roots. Oh, my camera fell. Sorry about that. I'll take what doesn't sift, usually the old roots. I'll dump it in here. From here, that's what now goes in compost. Here's a old pepper. It didn't make, I didn't harvest it in time, but once I finish this bed, I get all the old compost or the old root systems out. I'll move over here to the current compost. Now this has been setting all year long from last year. And covered up. These old logs, they're just deteriorated, but they're good for your garden. So what I'll do is I'll take these old rotted logs, and if you've ever been to the forest or whatever, and you look at the soil where these things have been sitting, it is the most richest, beautiful soil. Everything grows great. And look, see all that? See, I got some of that old from last year. Now, Your body is like a sponge. It soaks up whatever you put in it and on it. Same goes for your garden and your vegetables. Whatever you plant or put inside of your garden, that's what your vegetables soak up. So make sure it's all a natural product, because your vegetables will absorb any kind of chemicals, and that's why there are no herbicides, insecticides. Look at this little guy right here. That's what you want in your garden. Them little helpers right there. That's what you want in your garden. And these are square foot gardens. And look up some information on it. You can plant so much more within a square foot. And once I get this, once all this gets leveled out, I'll show you. I'm going to add some more. I'll come in with sticks and lay them like this, and it gives me 1 square foot. Now there's a map on what you can grow in 1 square foot. Like I don't know, 16 carrots can grow in 1 square foot. If you got a cabbage, that's going to take I think 2 square feet, something like that. So you can look that up, but look up square foot gardens. That's what I've gotten here. You produce so much more in a square foot garden than you can conventional gardens. It takes less water, produces more food, easier to weed. If there's a little weed, you just pick it up and that's it. It pulls right out. It's so much easier to keep weeds from getting in these. Now I'll show you what I do here. Let me grab my screen. Where did I put it? Ah, here we go. And since this one has been setting up for an entire year, I'll take my screen here, and it's usually this. I'll throw these to the side. These are ready to go in I'll probably plant in that other garden there that I haven't got going yet. But yeah, you never want to put fresh logs. If you put fresh logs, cut logs into your garden, it will actually pull the nitrogen out of the soil rather than help produce nitrogen for your soil. So make sure that it's all, this is a rock from, oh, it's a big rock. All right, so usually this top portion doesn't get broken down as much, so it'll actually the majority of that top portion will go in here. It won't sift as much. So let me go get my good shovel here, and but yeah, look up, I think it's squarefootgardens.com, or there's so much information on this style of gardening. It's crazy. But what I do is, let me get under here and show you some of this, how it's just broken down. So all this is, most of it, I got a food waste. My neighbor has some horses down there. I'll put manure in here. Sawdust, real good. Sawdust breaks down real quick. You don't want to do a lot of leaves unless you really break them up and grind them up. But so what I do here is I'll put a couple of scoops in here. Let's see, I'll have to put my camera down here. I don't know how good you can see. And then I'll just sift it out. Eggshells has the calcium. It's great for a lot of people clean their hairbrushes out. And it's good for the birds, for bird nests and stuff. I'll throw some out there for birds, for their nest, and then goes into my compost. So what I do then from here, I'll just take this that didn't sift, throw it in there, and it'll eventually break up over a period of time. Sooner or later I'll have an entire truckload full of soil that looks like I showed you previously in the bed. This here I'll mix with some other soil as I get further down. It'll start. You'll be able to tell. And let me get down there. I'll show you what it's going to look like. Okay. All right. I've dug down. Down here you can see eggshells. Eggshells are great. Coffee's great compost. A lot of people will even go to like Starbucks and pick up their old coffee grounds if they'll let them. Some stores will have it sitting out in the back of their store in bags that for people just to come by and pick it up. So let me get a scoop of this. I'll show you the difference in it. All right, here's the soil that's further down, as you can tell, and there's no smell whatsoever. No smell, just keep it covered up. But we have orange peels and eggs. You can see some of the horse manure from down the hills. Even old sticks that won't go. Throw them in there for next year, and they'll eventually deteriorate. So let me sift this and show you the end product here. One of my favorite things to do every year. You know the old saying about teaching the person to fish compared to giving him a fish. Well, here we go. Due to the recent events, I'm not even going to mention what it is. And I take it'll sift out all the old rocks. I don't want rocks in my soil. A lot more people are going to grow their own food. We still have food left over from even a couple of years ago that we've frozen, vacuum packed, and frozen. So we got quite a bit of food. But here we go. So a couple of rocks still from the neighbors down the hill. This keeps me from having to sift through it later. Anyway, so all right, here we go. Now that it's been sifted, I'll take this, dump it over for next year's compost, and look at this. It's just rich in nutrients and everything. So what I'll do from here, I'll take this. Let me bring you over here, show you what I add into it. Gosh, I need a tripod. That's got to go on the list. So I'll do 1 part compost, then I'll take a little bit of peat moss part peat moss. So throw in here. Then vermiculite I like a little better, but perlite still will work just as good. I just prefer vermiculite. All natural products, and then I just I'll break it up in here, and guess I could have put it through my screen. That's what I usually do. Got ahead of myself here. And then I'll mix up the compost, peat moss, perlite, and then add it to the garden. I should have ran that through the screen, that peat moss. And I can do that real quick. Hold on a sec. That way I don't have any big clumps of anything in my soil in my garden. Makes it easier to pull out any kind of weeds that might have blown in and everything. So smash it down good. Look at that rock. Don't like rocks in my garden. Not this kind anyway. So there you have it. Here's what it looks like now. Just a few little bit of clods. They ain't gonna hurt nothing. It'll dissolve once we start putting some water to it and mixing it up yet again. So I'll take this over here, pour it in here, and continue the process. All this, I'll pull all these up, our watering system. I'll take this, rake it all into a big pile, re-sift it through the screen. What doesn't get sifted will again come over here and put in this year's compost that I've been collecting since last spring. And as you collect, and as it decomposes, it'll drop. So you take a year's full of food waste, plus I have last or year before last compost in here from the gardens, and it'll just continue to lower on its own as it decomposes. And anyway, that's the process. So take a look at Square Foot Gardens. You'll also look up companion planting, so that you'll know that tomatoes will grow good with, say, peppers or something like that. You know, there you got some plants that doesn't grow good with others, and it's a whole science to it. You can look that up, companion planting vegetables. And so let me show you here. If we go to plant early, I have these this rebar here. Take some of this poly tubing. You can put right in the hole there, right in the hole here. And if you see, I have that all along the whole bed. Then you take a little bit of poly. Now here's where I put them, down in here. And take the same, you can split it as you can see here. And once you put your plastic that we have here, spread it across there. You can spread these and clamp on, and it'll automatically clamp on here and hold your plastic on without buying any kind of specialty plants. Here's our for our water lines we'll have here that we can stick and hold it down into the ground so they don't move or anything. You can also, we'll plant like marigolds or other flower plants here that bugs don't like. They don't like marigolds and stuff, a lot of them. Then we'll also plant something that'll attract bees into these holes here in the cinder block. This bed here is for our grapes. We're going to plant several different types of grapes. We didn't get around to doing that last spring, so hopefully we can finish out putting our cinder block here, get our grapes going there. Here is our berry garden. We're going to extend it further out. This is our bed planted under the aspen tree that is partial to full shade, things that don't really like full sun. Also, if you plant from east to west, you have some you want to plant your larger plants on the end. That'll provide some natural shade to your other plants that don't get the hot full sun on it. Anyway, that's what I'm doing today. Loving life. Yeah, enjoying the journey here. Enjoying the journey. As most people say, living the dream. That's it, living the dream. Anyway, getting back here. Shell, great calcium. Love it. All right, thanks for watching. Hope it wasn't boring.